Hey, John here from John's Do It Yourself. If you're like me, you don't like to buy a lot of wood. So what I do is I keep a little wood bin and I keep my eye out for people remodeling their houses or redoing their back decks. And then when they're complete, they always put a lot of wood out on the street to throw away. You got to collect this stuff because it's worth a bundle. Okay, so what I've got behind me is some African mahogany that went in someone's living room. So what I'm going to be doing is using a piece of that to build a purse rack. Yes, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of a shadow box, we're going to take the purses off the floor and we're going to hang them in a cool, stylish fashion. So follow along and hopefully this will be easy like it was for me. So let's get cutting. First things first, after cutting off the tongue and grooves on both sides of your board, measure the width of your piece, then set your table saw and cut your board perfectly in half. On the back side of the board, you will see designed stress cuts. We are going to glue those two faces together. This will leave the shiny side outwards. Remember, wood glue works because it is porous. So if you glue the shiny sides without sanding it, your wood glue will not bond. So pull out your clamps before you lay your bead of glue and have them at the ready. After your glue is laid, spread it out evenly so all of the face is covered, then apply your clamps. So now let's work on the arms. Go back to your wood bin and grab smaller pieces and repeat the same process of removing the tongue and groove and cutting them in half. If you choose 5 pieces, you will get about 10 arms. Going back to your main piece, let's do a quick sanding now that the glue has set. Sand in a standard 3-stage process, 100 grit to remove all the gloss layer, then 220 and finish with a smooth 400. Ensure you wipe your piece down with a damp rag to remove any sawdust left over, and ensure your piece is clean. Then, with whatever stain you choose, stain your piece. I chose Minwax Mahogany. This will bring back that nice dark glow. Going back to your short pieces, cut them at random lengths, but the hook ends should all be the same size for aesthetic purposes. If you are using any other wood, then you will only need the countersink hole. But if you are using flooring like me, which is extremely dense wood, you not only need a countersink hole, but you also need a pilot hole that will go all the way through the piece and into the next. This will keep you from breaking your screw, splitting your wood, or stripping out the head on the screw. So once you have your end pieces, which should all be the same size, place your pilot hole and countersink holes on the thin side. Before you place your pilot hole on the arm piece, you need to pair up all pieces with an end piece. Don't let them get separated once you do this. Then place each end piece on the arm and align them perfectly. From there, take a nail or screw and with a hammer create a pock mark on the receiving arm piece. This will ensure your pieces stay aligned when you are ready to attach them. Remember, don't separate them once you pair them. Now grab your drill, or if you have a drill press like me to save time, go back and continue with a pilot hole on the arm side piece. Go as deep as you can. You don't want any resistance with these screws, but of course you want it thin enough where the screws will still grip. Once each pair is drilled, place it back with its pair. With the pair still together, place a little bit of wood glue on the end of the arm. Then take your screw and drill it through the pilot hole and into the arm. You have your first arm piece complete. With all your arms put together, do a quick sanding in the same 3-step style. Do not sand away the shiny gloss side this time. We're going to leave these untouched. We're going to use them to our benefit. Then continue on staining the back sides. You make sure you don't forget to get all of the edges, but the shiny side won't take stain anyway, so you don't have to waste your time with it. So try to keep all the factory relief cuts on the same side when screwing your arms together. This will look much more natural. I screwed up a few as you can see here. Then, because there are all different sizes, lay out all your arms and organize based on largest to smallest. This is because you want your larger arms on the bottom of the rack. This will save you time later. This next step depends on how long your base piece is. So take the total length, subtract 2 feet 3 inches from that, because you don't want the lower purses touching the floor, and the 3 inches is because you don't want your first arm at the very top of the pole. And then divide that by how many arm pieces you want to attach. With your results, take a tape measure and rotate your pole one side at a time and place a mark at each interval as you rotate it. Just like last time, place a countersink hole on all your marks, nothing deeper than a 1/4 inch here. Then follow up with your pilot holes. Keep the bit long and ensure you go all the way through your piece. Drilling out the countersink holes first helps with centering your pilot holes. Now go back to your drill and drill out a pilot hole in each of your arms. Remember to keep the bit long and go as deep as you can. Ensure your bit leaves enough for the screw to bite into the wood, but not struggle to cut through it.
So all this time I was not sure how I was going to do the base. I had a few thoughts running around in my head. I almost went with an old Christmas tree stand, but changed my mind because I did not think it would be heavy enough and I didn't feel like painting that day. So this is what I came up with. Take 4 pieces about 2 feet long each. Cut off the tongue and grooves just like before on your other pieces. Find the center and then mark it. Take a second piece and use your first piece to align the center mark. Don't do this with all 4 pieces unless your pole is perfectly square. Mine is not, so I will have to do one side at a time. One side is slightly longer than the other. So you have to make your pole marks twice, one for each length of your pole. Lay your pole in the center of your mark and mark both sides of the pole and then transfer those marks onto the second piece. Use a speed square to ensure your marks are 90 degrees. Use one of your boards or a smaller one that is easier to hold to make your marks, as long as the smaller board is the same width of your base pieces. We will now make some notches. Draw 2 lines on the outside of the lines you previously drew from the width of your pole. Once you have done that, align your boards, and with your speed square, draw your lines all the way across both boards. Match them identically. Remember, your pole might be a different size, so make sure you're doing 2 sets of boards at a time. Don't do them all at once. Then, find the center of each of those slots and mark it. When all is said and done, your pieces should look like this. You can do this next step on a table saw and do both pieces together at once, but since I'm too lazy and my miter saw is still out, I will just use the depth stop. Not many people even know what this feature is. Adjust the small screw until the blade will not lower past your mark line. Then cut out your notches. Now when you do this, if the center of the blade cannot slide across the board fully, take a small board and place it between the board and the fence. Then begin your notches. Find yourself a protractor or any slightly curved object and make each end of the board rounded. Very important. Make sure one matching set is facing up and the other matching set is facing down. This could be catastrophic if you place your arches going in the wrong direction, and you won't notice until you put your pieces together. With your bandsaw or your jigsaw, cut your marks you just made on the ends. Now grab your sander and sand the curves you just made using the 3-step process. I am once again lazy and I'm not going to set up my sanding table. I just grabbed my belt sander, flipped it to the stand, and smoothed the round edges. If you have not seen everything I clipped to the stand, then you must have missed this video. Since I refused to buy anything for this project, I dig through my screw bin and come across some lag screws that I pulled out of a bunk bed. In my head, I think this will work great as long as they make it all the way through the legs and the pole. I will use these. In order to hide the lag portion of the screw, I grab a spade bit that is the same width as the lag. While you're at it, find a bit that is the same circumference as the screw. You want this to actually be a really tight fit. Stack matching pieces together and make sure they are perfectly aligned and clamp them tight. Then take your pilot hole drill bit and drill a hole all the way through. Then on only one side of each pair, take the spade bit and place a countersink hole deep enough to hide the lag. It does not need to fit perfectly in the hole now. It should actually not fit at all, but when you tighten it down, it will pull itself into the hole, and that will keep it from spinning when you tighten the screw. Once both sets are complete, take your pole and center it perfectly between the notches. Make sure it is flush with the bottom of the legs. If it is too low, your base might wobble. Hold it still and clamp it in place. Now take your pilot hole from the legs and drill through it all the way through the pole based on where the stand's pilot holes are already at. Continue this on both sets of the stand legs. Okay, this would not be a classic JON'S DIY if I edited out my mistakes. Watch closely as I notice my mistake and see that the holes will go through each other. So earlier, when you go to do the second set of legs, make sure you move your hole to the lower side of the notch on the second pair. This way your screws will not collide inside the pole. Yep, I'm still an amateur. So I have to reclamp the legs and make a hole in the lower portion so my screws don't intersect. But you get the mistake. Same process as before. Let's just correct it real quick. Now we can put our base together. With a rubber mallet, tap in the notches to the base legs. Ensure you start with the set that has the notches facing down, so your arches are curving towards the ground and not up. Slide your base pole into the stand and place your first screw into place. Now, with an Allen socket head, ratchet your screw tight until the lag is firmly inside the countersink hole. Once that's done, you can simply install your second screw. When complete, hopefully your pole stands upright. Now you can take your arms and, starting from the top, screw in each one. Remember, I will place the smaller arms at the top of the pole and work my way down. As I move down the pole, keep rotating it so you use all of the pre-drilled holes in descending order and you don't get any large arms above any small arms. Alright, now that we're done, would love to hear your comments below about your significant other's purse collection. Is it a little outlandish? Because remember, there are still just as many in the closet. Overall, this was a pretty easy project that allows you to spend the day in the garage. So for next Mother's Day, remember, instead of buying your wife another purse, how about building her a purse rack? As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.